Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Oracle DBA Online Training. So today we will be looking at Oracle 12c release 2 RAC installation on Linux step by step. So before we begin, I will be requesting you to subscribe my YouTube channel Oracle DBA Online Training so that you keep on getting all these updates. So previously we have seen how to perform Oracle database architecture in details, and later we have seen so many other videos also. We have learned how to install Oracle 12c database, and even though you can learn so many things like data guard architecture and installation, patching. So all this stuff you can get it. So we'll see Oracle RAC installation. So we have the two nodes, RAC 1, RAC 2. This is my RAC 1 node host name, and similarly you can check host name to RAC 2 database. Okay, these two servers are already created. If you want to learn how these servers can be created, so you can refer my previous videos. You can watch those videos and learn how to perform the installation. So we can perform the ping operations between the nodes. So from the RAC 1, RAC 2 is reachable, even though private IPs are also reachable. And next you can see etc host entries. So these are my private IPs, these are my public IPs. VIP is also defined, RAC scan is also defined. So so we have already created two nodes, and if you want to learn those things, you can refer my previous videos. I will be providing the link in the description. Next is shared storage. So basically I have already defined the shared storage between the two nodes. So you can check my this machine details. So here we have ASM disk 1 of 38, ASM disk for 20 GB, and ASM disk 3 for 12 gigs. Okay, and also we can perform Oracle ASM scan disks to cross verify ASM disk details. So from here I will be performing Oracle ASM list disks on node 1 as well as node 2 also I will be checking. So you can see there are 3 disks I have already created. You can watch my previous videos how to create a shared storage for a creation of a RAC database. I will be giving you the link in the description. You can cross verify those details. And here we can see 3 disks are already created that will be used for our ASM disk group creation. Okay, so now I will be switching back to my grid user, and I will go back to first I will show you the bash profile details. So here you can see Oracle home path is on U02 mount points. So I will go back to my grid home, that is my Oracle home. So on this path I have already copied my software and unzip that files, and you can see these files are already there, and so the test connectivity between the node is already done, and we have already copied the software installation, and zip is also performed. Now next thing is Ssh User Setup Sh. From here I will be configuring the passwordless configuration between the two nodes for both grid as well as Oracle users. So we need to go to the install location. Here we have the Ssh User Setup Sh file. So by using this command Ssh setup and providing the user details, host name, and no prompt passphrase confirm options, we can run the. So we have to provide the grid user password over here. So I provided the grid for both RAC 1 RAC 2. It will ask you twice. So once you will provide the password, it will create the passwordless configuration between the two nodes. So it is completed successfully. SSH verification completed. So we can SSH to RAC 2, and you can see RAC 2 is all from RAC 1 to RAC 2 is also connecting. That means passwordless connection between the nodes is successfully done for grid user. Similarly we will create for Oracle user also. So I will be just changing the user by keeping the details same. and we'll execute the same thing again, and at this time we need to provide the Oracle user password. So it is going with first it is checking the remote host connectivity, and now we have to provide the Oracle user password. So I just provided the password. This is for Oracle users, okay, and RAC 1 RAC 2 both the nodes. Now it is performing this operations, and now I will be switching to Oracle user. From here I will be performing the SSH to RAC 2, and it is now connecting without any password. That means passwordless connectivity is happening between the nodes. Reverse is also working fine. We'll go through the batch profile details. So unfortunately, by mistakenly I just mentioned 19C over here. I will be modifying it to 12C. So I just modified the batch profile for Oracle users once again, and grid user you are also done. So we will verify the Oracle details like Oracle SID, Oracle base, Oracle home. So I just go to my Oracle home directory. So with this point we have created the passwordless connectivity. Now next one is run CLUFI stage pre CRS installation prefix, and this command for RAC 1 RAC 2, and using the verbose option we will be getting the outputs. So first we'll list out this sh file, run clufi.sh. So I will be executing this command. It will go through all the checks. So one thing guys, if you want to learn in depth about these processes, so you can refer my previous video of Oracle 19c installation, where we have covered everything from scratch level. I mean, from the OS installation to the user, I mean different user creation and everything. So here we can see run clufi.sh is executing, and we are seeing some errors. So these errors is ignorable, and there is no issue with that. I will be telling you the reason for the same. So my run clufi is completed within a few minutes of time. So it is asking me to require minimum of 8 GB of RAM, so that we can ignore. We can install on 4 GB. So better we should keeping 8 GB of RAM, and some other details is also passed. So if it is any point is failing, that will be a problematic situation for us. Apart from the network related configuration, since we are using the IP based configuration, so you can also create a DNS configuration for a RAC installation, but we are preferring the IP based configuration. So here you can see all the points are success, but apart from this network related, that is failed, and we will be ignoring that part. We don't have to worry about that part. And so with this our run clufi is successfully completed. We'll clear the screen, and now we'll proceed with a grid installation process. And what I will do, I will log in through the grid users over here, and then we'll initiate the actual installation process. So if you are using the mobile AXA, you should always use the actual user for the installation, such as grid or the Oracle user, instead of switching from the root user to the grid, because it will not enable you the graphical interface. So I just log in with a fresh user grid, and I will cross verifying my details of Oracle environment. So from here I will be running the xhost+ command, so that access control is disabled. And now we'll go back to Oracle home directory, and we'll try to run the grid setup.sh file, that is used for grid installation in 12c release 2 onwards. So we have this file grid setup.sh. So by executing this file, it will populate me the actual installation graphical interface. From there we will be performing the actual Oracle grid infrastructure installation. So it is basically launching my grid infrastructure installation page. So here we can see it is a Oracle grid infrastructure 12c version. So there are multiple options given, like configuring the Oracle grid infrastructure for a new cluster, or you can say you're configuring the grid infrastructure for standalone servers, upgrade the Oracle software. So we'll click on first one option and click on the next tab. So we are configuring the Oracle grid infrastructure for the new cluster, so we have chosen the first option. So it will be verifying certain details, and now we are on the next page. Here we have to select the configure an Oracle standalone cluster. So we'll choose the first option over here. Here we have to provide the cluster name as well as the scan name. So we'll keep the cluster name as it is, but we'll modify the scan name as per our network configuration details. So we'll choose the port of 1521 only. Click next option. Here we have to provide the other node detail also. So there are different roles are given in our Oracle 12c release 2. So we'll click on the add node details. So here we have to provide the public host name for the node 2, that is rac2.local domain, that is my public host name, and virtual host name will be rac2-vip dot local domain. So we'll mention this detail and then click on OK button. And next thing we have to do SSH connectivity. So we'll click on SSH, provide the grid password and click on the test. So it will perform the passwordless SSH connectivity. So it is happening. Click OK. Click on the next tab. So it will perform various operations in the backgrounds, and we have to wait for a few seconds of time. And once this is done, it will go with next page of network interface usage. So guys, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe. That is an humble request with you guys. You'll be getting lots of steps to learn on this YouTube channel, that is for sure. And we can see our validation of public and private interface across the cluster is happening. And now we can see the storage option over here, sorry, the network interface uses. So there are two options. So we'll choose the default options only. We'll click on the next one. Now configure the ASM using the block device. Click on the no button for GIML data. Here we have to mention the disk group names. So we'll change the discovery path from dev/ Oracle ASM/ disks star, and then click OK. So we have these 3 disks available that we have checked during our installation process. So we'll create a new disk group OCR, and we have to provide the redundancy as external only. So we have given the redundancy external. This is my 38 GB of storage. And then next one, we have to provide the sys password. Specify the password. Sys and ASM SNMP will provide both the password as same only. Keep the password short for testing purpose. So it will warn you. We'll click on the yes. So you can see ASM password related point is showing failure, so it can be ignorable. Just click on the next tab. You have to choose the different disk group or ownership group name. So we choose the OInstall as a primary group for grid users. So next is Oracle base. This is my Oracle base. This is my software location that we have defined in the bash profile. So we'll click on the next tab. Click on yes tab. So it is saying me that location is not empty. So I think that is okay, and it will, the logic is that your Oracle base should be empty. So but there are few files are related to our installation, so we can ignore that one. So we'll just cross verify the details what all the files are existing on this path. So you can see some CVU file is there inside this location, so it is some log file is getting generated. So we'll click on yes options so that we can continue. So this is my Aura inventory location, so where all the inventory information will be kept. Click on the next option. Now it is asking me whether you want to run root script by automatic, so we'll ignore that one. Will not run any script using the default options. Okay, so now it is going with a prerequisite checks. Okay, so yeah, here it is performing lots of pre-checks in the backgrounds. So whatever options we have chosen so far, it is going through all these details, like it is verifying whether your kernel parameters, your memory, your IP port, and every details it is going through, and it is cross verifying your network details, whether all the packages are existing on the system in order to perform your grid installation. So all these things are getting verified with the prerequisite checks. Okay, and even though it is verifying the node connectivity, and so you can say lots of background checks are happening before the actual installation process begin. Okay, so this step will take little bit of time, or it will depend upon your system speed, and since we are doing some testing operations, it's only that that's why we have like lesser defined the lesser RAM and all those details. So it is verifying now DNS and IS name services. So we haven't chosen the DNS options if you are in the corporate, so your organization might be choosing those details. So you can, I mean, check my previous videos if you want to learn those things, and I will be requesting you meanwhile you will subscribe my channels, and there is one video called Oracle 19C RAC installation. This video is around 3 hours of time, and it has every information you want to learn. Okay, so next thing, these are prerequisite checks is already done. So there are few failed options are there, we can ignore all of them. So these are only basically related to network and physical memory lesser on the server. So we'll click on next options. So here we have the summary, and on the summary page you can cross check all these details, like whatever we have given as an input so far for the installation purpose, everything has been captured, and it is like a final summary, a final confirmation before the actual installation begin. So post verifying all these details, we'll click on the install option. So from here we can click on the detail options. So we'll getting all the details in the whatever the changes are happening, it will be shown through the detail options over here. By clicking on the detail tab, it will be giving me all these informations. So you can see so basically it is performing on the local node, installation is happening. Later it will be doing some remote operations, and it will take some amount of time. So it is completely depending upon your system configurations. Okay, so let this installation process go further. So basically in background what is happening is like certain linking of binaries are happening. So it is doing like normal installation process, and it is linking all these binaries with for Oracle Grid infrastructure installation, and So we can see it will take certain amount of time. So after certain period of time, local node configuration is already completed, and now it is performing the same thing on the remote host. So it is copying the file from the local node to the remote host, and you can see in the detail tab it is copying the data from the U02 grid home to my remote nodes, and it will perform the same thing on the remote node, but by directly copying the file from the local node to the remote node. Okay. So this would not take much amount of time. So as we can see, it is progressed to around 31%, and still it is not finished. Copy operation is still going on in the background, and still it is moving. And so guys, if you want to learn how to perform the Oracle RAC database installation from the beginning, I will be requesting you to go through my old video that is on Oracle 19c installation. It has every information that you require. I will be requesting you to go through that video, and definitely you will be learning a lot from that video, and it is like from scratch to the end, and it is like from the OS installation till your RAC configuration completes, and it has every information. And meanwhile our installation is progressing, I will be requesting you to subscribe my YouTube channel, so you keep on learning everything from this YouTube channels. There are a lot of video on data guards, lot of video on Oracle RAC database, lot of video on patching, so lot to learn from this YouTube channels. Again, I am not promoting my YouTube channels, but I am willing to provide my knowledge to you guys, so consider this as an opportunity, and let my installation complete. Let this remote installation process finish, then we'll discuss further. So guys, you can see my remote configuration is also done. So here we have two scripts that needs to be executed from RAC 1 RAC 2, and first script is root ora inst root.sh. so I will be executing on from node 1. So I just copied that file and executed, so it has modified some permissions. Similarly, I will be executing it on node 2. Okay, so second script is root.sh. I will be executing on the root node 1, and later on node 2. Order should be followed as mentioned in the document, on the screen. So we have executed on node 1. So basically this script will go through some 19 different stages. From there it will be configuring and starting the newly installed grid infrastructure on my local node. So this is my node 1 RAC 1, and I executed this root.sh file, and it is performing some relinking operation in the backgrounds, and it will take some amount of time, like 10 to 15 minutes of time, and it will go through various stages. And once that is finished, then you can cross verify those things, and later you need to execute the same script on the node 2 also. Okay, so I think we should wait for a few minutes of time, and again we should check what is the progress. So So we can also parallelly we can monitor the logs that is getting generated during this configuration process. So from node 1 I will be duplicating these sessions, and I will be just I will run the tail commands for that log file location that is given on the screen. So I just fire this tail command, and we can see there are some operations has happened in the backgrounds, and this is only the first script that we have executed on node 1. Okay, so these are my output, and this is my main screen on which I have executed the scripts. So here we can see step 2 is going on, then step 3, and total 19 steps are given, and it is going through one by one, and you can see check first node and gen SID, GUID, save parameter file, setup OSD, checking OCR config. So all these things are happening, and parallelly we can monitor the logs that we have already tailed, and in this fashion you can perform your installation. And let this configuration complete on node 1, then we'll discuss further. So again we can see our total 17 steps are completed so far on the node 1, and now it is performing the start CRS, and from the logs we can verify what is happening in the background. So it is doing some CRS detail start CRS -wait, and it should not take much time from here, and we are almost completed most of the steps on the node 1, and I hope you guys are enjoying this video, and if you like the video, just click on like button. I'll be requesting everyone to watch the entire video so that you can learn everything, I mean from start to end. So total 19 steps are completed, and our configuration is succeeded on node 1, and we'll verify the logs also. So this is my ps-ef grep Pmon. I will fire this command so that I can verify the Pmon details. See, this is my listener, and using the SU-grid I will be just cross verifying the CRS detail also. So sorry, I'll be just cross verifying the SQL version. So you can see 12c release 2 version is already installed. So this is my SQLPLUS -v output, and next thing we need to do is execute the same script on the node 2, and I will just copy this file and location, and through the root user we need to execute. So I just verified the host name, and we'll execute the root.sh file, and from here we can verify this file it is executed, and again the same process will follow, and total 19 steps will be gone through. So this is our last script execution from the installation details page, and now it is relinking the Oracle with Oracle RAC. Okay, so what I will do, I will duplicate the session, and again I will be just tail out the logs so that you can better get the output and understand what exactly happening in the background. Okay, and it will take a few minutes of time, and so we have to be little patient about this, and so we can copy this path from RAC 1, and I think this path will be not there. Yeah, it is not created till now, so we have to wait for few minutes of time in order to start this process. So here we can see the log is already created, and now we'll tell this file, and this is generating some outputs, and that is good. So again, steps are getting performed, step 1 to 19, and first step is set up TFA, and it is configuring and installing the TFA. You can cross verify everything on the log page. So these are the steps. So by executing root.sh, it is configuring the grid infrastructure on my configuring, as well as it is starting my grid infrastructure on local node. That is my currently my node 2 is it is getting performed. So so what I will do, I will be waiting for a few minutes of time, and meanwhile this script execution let this proceed, and parallelly you should be monitoring your logs also while this script is getting executed, and we'll discuss further once this is completed. Okay, so guys, we'll again cross verify the details. So it is step number 19 that is getting executed, and it should not take much time from here, and it is successfully completed. The total configuration is completed. You can see the message succeeded in our last message details. So now we will verify the Pmon and TNS details. So both TNS and the Pmon is up and running. So this process is up and running, and we'll log into a grid and cross verify the SQLPLUS version. So this is my 12c release 2 on node 2, that is RAC 2, our second instance, second node. crctl check CRS command will provide me the output of all the services online details. So from here crctl check cluster -all will provide the output for both RAC 1 RAC 2 nodes. Okay, so using these commands you can verify your cluster where services is up and running or not. So it is up and running. So we'll go back to our installation page now, and we'll click on OK button over here, and from here it will move further. So execute root script is completed, and both these scripts is completed on both of the nodes one by one as per our given the list of details on the screen. So from here it will proceed further, and it will perform the actual configuration of Oracle grid infrastructures, and we need to wait a few seconds of time before it proceed further. So on 44% it is still waiting, and our configuration is processing, and so this is my cluster inventory that is getting saved, and now configuration step is progressed, and we can see progress is also moved to 49%, and I think from here it will take another 10 to 15 minutes of time for remaining configuration process. And here we can see configure Oracle grid infrastructure for cluster, and updating the inventory Oracle net configuration, like installation of your configuration of your scan listener and all those details. And then automatic storage management configuration, that is your ASMCA, all those steps are getting performed on this configuration of your Oracle Grid Infrastructure configuration page. So now it is starting the update inventory, and it will take certain amount of time. After few minutes of time, I just cross verified, and it is moved to around 57%, and again it is moving further, and we have reached 66%. And so meanwhile I'm just keep on stopping videos. I'm not covering like every screen movement, and in between I'm pausing and again restarting the video, so that you don't have to wait for entire like step by step details. So so far we have completed 74% of our installation of our grid installation. Grid infrastructure 12c release 2 installer is almost 75% is completed, and we can parallelly verify this detail page. And from here it is now configuring my so far called management database. So from 12c onwards there is a new database called MGRT. So that is your management database. So it is now creating the container database for Oracle Grid Infrastructure Management, and you can see there is some copy database files operations are happening. So meanwhile I will be requesting you to subscribe my YouTube channels, and so that you keep on getting all these updates. I know a few of you have already subscribed, but still I will be requesting to all the new friends who have not subscribed. And from here we can see our container database creation is still progressing. I think we should wait for a few minutes of time and then see what happens next. So after waiting few minutes of time, we can see our database creation is almost getting complete, and on the screen we can see there are few operations are already completed, and it is in the stage of completion of grid infrastructure management configuration. So now creating container database also completed, and the next step it is going for GIMR configuration assistant. So almost 82% is completed. From here it will take another 5 to 10 minutes of time, and after waiting some amount of time, I can see still it is GIMR configuration is still happening, and we have to be little patient. There is no other options that we can see. Okay guys, so GIMR configuration is happening. So guys, after waiting for a few minutes of time, we can see almost 91% of configuration is completed, and still we can see few steps are pending. That is currently Oracle cluster verification is going on, and from here it is verifying every details, whatever configuration is done so far. That means it is doing some post installation checks in the backgrounds, and it is verifying everything, whether these details are getting passed or not. And I can see scan is failed on the screen, and I think if you are using your resolve.conf configuration or DNS configurations, so this will be succeeded, otherwise it will fail. And I'm sure that because of that it will be our complete installation will be like at the end we will see the screen of failure, but that is okay. But it will be a configuration totally IP based, and still you can see there are various stages it is going through, and it should not take much time from here. We have almost completed, and again few pointers are filled that we have ignored during our installation process, and I will not recommending you to go ahead without resolving those pre-installation checks. But as we are doing testing, so and we don't have actual network configurations over here, so we can ignore that one. And we can see a few OS kernel parameters is also getting verified at this stage, and so a lot of things are getting verified, and those details are getting collected. And so we have to be little patient while doing the grid infrastructure installation. There are various phases it goes through, and once this is done, then we are done. And remember guys, post this installation, will be creating our new disk groups that will be used as a data disk groups and archive disk groups for our database installation purpose. And during our installation we have used OCR disk groups, and if you are using a 12c installation release 2, OCR is minimum 34 GB of requirement is there. And if so, I will be requesting for safer side you choose 40 GB of disk groups for your installation purpose of 12c release 2. In 19c it is not mandatory, you can keep around 10 GB of OCR disk groups, but 12c release 2 there is some limitations, that is you need to choose a little more. So after waiting few minutes of time, we can see our post installation and best practice baselines are getting collected from our installer. I hope you are understanding everything, and if you have any queries so far, you can mention me in the comment box. Definitely I will be providing you the helps, and even though you can write me an emails, you can check my email in the description box, and from there you can you can write me any queries related to your installation failures, or if you have any general queries regarding Oracle database administrative purpose. You can keep on you can get in touch with me, and I will definitely try to help you out. Okay. So on the 91% it is doing some lot of background checks and all those details. So now it is going for verifying the ASM mandatory requirements. So I think we should wait for a few seconds, and after that we have completed our installation 100%. So on the final page we can see our configuration is completed, and so we'll cross verify everything once again using the crctl commands, and we'll close the window, and from node 1 and node 2 will once again verify the ps-e, the Pmon and other details. So I can see my mgmt database as well as ASM database is up and running on the node 1, that is RAC 1, and similarly I will be cross verifying my TNS entries, and scan listeners are up and running. d.bin is also we can see on the screen, and I can execute crctl stat resource -t to verify the details. So there is some command mistake, and we can see this output. So there are various components and resources that are up and running both on online state on RAC 1, RAC 2, and it is stable state. And so with this we can say our configuration for 2 node RAC grid infrastructure is completed. Our next target should be Oracle database in software installation. So we'll once again run this command OLS nodes -n. So both these nodes are shown in the clusterware information. So RAC 1, RAC 2, and numbering for those instances are given as 1 and 2. So with this we will be we have completed 2 node grid infrastructure installation, and our next target will be creating 2 disk groups that we have discussed previously during our installation. So we will create 1 data disk groups for our database and one. So we'll start the RDBMS software installation post our data disk group creation. So CRS check cluster, this is output we have already verified, and now I will be executing this ASM CA from the grid users on the RAC 1. So it will give me the graphical interface for ASM disk group creation. So by using the ASM CA utility you can get the graphical user interface for your disk group and ASM. So basically ASM configuration assistant is a utility provided by grid infrastructure software. Once you will log in, so you can see there are ASM instances you can cross verify. So there are 2 nodes and both it is up and running. Next you click on disk groups, and from here we can see my OCR group of 38 GB and 4.7 GB is free, and it is external redundancy mounted on both the nodes. Okay, now we will click on the create option over here. So we have these 2 candidate disks are already available. So I will be clicking on the new disk group name as a data and click the redundancy as external, click OK. Of 20 GB we have size selected. So it is now creating my disk group data, and that external redundancy is selected and everything is chosen. So it is like a graphical interface that you can use to create a new disk groups. It hardly takes a few minutes of time, and it will create your disk groups and it will mount on both the nodes. That is the best thing it does in the background. So still it is in progress state, and we have to wait few minutes from here. So now it is loading, and we can see data disk groups of 20 GB, almost 20 GB of free space, and it is external redundancy and mounted on both the nodes. We can see on the screen also. Now we'll click on create and choose external redundancy and give the name as archive. I'll select the last candidate of 12 gigs of size, click OK. Now it will create a disk group with the name archive that we will be using for archive log purpose maybe later. So with this we will be like very good ready with our RDBMS software installation prerequisites. And remember guys, this will be used during our actual database configuration. So this is my all 3 disk groups are mounted, and these are my 2 nodes. And so what I will be doing, there are various options like mounting, dismounting, refresh. So we'll close this window, click yes. Okay, so with this our This group creation is also finished. We can cross verify once again by logging into ASM through SQLPLUS. So click on describe with or ASM disk group. So I will be selecting name as well as I need to clear this one. Click on group number, select the state, total MB, free MB, and okay, I will keep free MB itself from $asm underscore disk group, provide the semicolon. So there are total 3 disk groups are created: OCR, data, and archive. All 3 are mounted and given the size, free size. Okay. So we have almost completed all the steps. So guys, we have seen how to perform grid installation, and my both the rack grid installation is up and running, and you can cross verify using the crctl check commands. And now we will be creating, also we have created our data disk groups. So we'll be starting our RDBMS software. So we have already copied the RDBMS software and unzipped on the Oracle home by logging to Oracle users. So this is my Oracle home path for 12c RDBMS software location. So here we have already copied these files, and this is my home locations from bash profiles. So these are the files that we have already copied from our existing software. Okay, so this is my xhost plus. So we have run the xhost plus commands, and now we have separately login through Oracle users. So by going to Oracle home directory, we will be executing the run installer. If you want to know how to download the RDBMS software, you can watch my previous videos. I have specified. So run installer is executed, and it will within a few seconds of time it will populate me the installation window, and using the graphical interface we will be installing the RDBMS software on top of our clusterware installation that we have previously done. Okay, so parallelly we'll try to monitor the logs also. So this is not yet done. So basically this is launching my installer, so we have to wait for a few seconds, and this is a it is preparing all these launcher on the temporary file path. And so we can see our 12c RDBMS software installer is have invoked the graphical interface, and this is database software. From first we have to either you can provide your email and password detail for my supports, and we'll skip that one. Click on yes. So here 3 options are given: create and configure database, install database software, upgrade. So we'll click on install database software only. Okay, so we're not creating a database at this stage. So we'll have the 3 different options of like performing single instance, or real application cluster, rack, one node. So we'll choose the default options: real application cluster database installation. We have the 2 nodes, that is rack 1 and rack 2. Okay, we'll click on the next tab. So from here it will be doing some background checks like connectivity and all those. So it is saying that my connectivity between the node is little slower, so we'll click on yes for continue. Again it is verifying the setup for our installer, and once this is done, then it will be asking me installation type. That will be our next stage. So guys, if you have understood so far, I will be requesting click on subscribe button if you haven't done yet, so that you keep on getting all these updates. I know a few of you have already done, and this is a request to all the new friends. Meanwhile, this page is arrived, and we have to choose between the enterprise edition and standard edition. So we'll choose the default enterprise edition. So this is my Oracle base location, U01. So remember, our grid is on U02. We are selecting U01 over here, and we have defined this path in base profile. So from there it is getting all these details. So U01 is the mount point used. So next is Oracle contains some directory. We can click on yes to proceed further, or we can verify. It is asking me to remove entries, so there is no worry. And next page we have to provide the group details. So we'll choose the default groups, that is install the primary groups for both grid as well as Oracle users we have created. So we'll choose the install option over here. So now we'll click on the next tab. So it is verifying the details, and now we are on the prerequisite checks. So it is preparing to perform the prerequisite checks in the backgrounds. So guys, this will again take a few seconds of time, and after performing the prerequisites check, it will give me a summary and other details. If there is any failures or any additional changes that we need to do, that it will specify, and we have to work upon that. Remember, our configuration is IP based, and we haven't used DNS or resolve.conf entries for our RAC installation, so we might be getting those errors again. So we can safely ignore that. Apart from that, we will be getting the RAM related, like our RAM is very little low, since my laptop has little lower RAM. So I just choose around 5 GB of space. Minimum it is required around 8 GB. So but still we can configure, but it will be a little slower. So I will be requesting you to use around 8 GB of RAM or more than that if you have sufficient spaces. So you can see there are various stages it is going through. Okay. If you have any questions so far, you can ping me in the comment box, or you can send me the mail also. You can check my email details in the descriptions. So here we are on the verification result page. So there are again the same thing that we have discussed. It is giving me the error on scan, DNS, resolve.conf, NTP. So we can ignore all these points, click on next, and it will ask me yes. So here we have summary details. So this will be my source and disk space requirement, node details. So we have click on the installation. Now our installation page started, and from here we can see it is getting progressed, and it will take around 10 to 15 minutes. So basically it will be performing some operations on the local node, and from like it will first prepare and then copy the files and linking the binaries, then doing some setup operations, and later it will be doing the same thing on the remote node also. So from here it will take a minimum of 10 minutes or so. So we should wait for a few minutes of time. So meanwhile I will be stopping. I will pause this video and will rejoin after completion of this task. Okay, so wait for a few minutes. So guys, we can see our remote installation is in progress, and local installation is already completed, and it is now performing copy of software from the local node to the remote nodes, and this is my Oracle home location. Parallelly you can copy this log and check the details in the backgrounds. So I just executed this using the tail commands. I just tail out this output file, and I can see there is around 30% of progress is completed for SCP, and within a few minutes of time it will copy all the file from the local node to the remote node, and then it will perform the same operation that is done on the local nodes. Okay, so we should wait further, and once this will be finished, then we'll discuss further. Okay, so we can see again that our root.sh file we need to execute on RAC 1 and RAC 2. So we'll copy this file one by one and paste on both the nodes. So basically it will modify the permission, and we can see the ID as a root. So we'll execute first on the RAC 1 and then RAC 2. So permissions is modified and it is overwritten to these files. Similarly we need to execute on node 2 also. We'll verify the ID. So we are logged into root only. We will execute the same commands, root.sh file from Oracle home on this path. Okay, so we have executed this one, and now we'll click on OK, and with this it is successfully completed. Our RDBMS software installation is successfully completed. So that means we have completed our grid installation as well as our RDBMS software installation, and grid infrastructure is already up and running. And we can verify this by logging to Oracle user SQLPLUS-v, and you can see Oracle release 12c release 2 is already there. It is my Oracle home, and similarly we can verify on other node also. So we'll verify the Pmon. So ASM is up and running on both the nodes. So this is a ASM MGMT database is running on the node 2. So guys, I will proceed with our database creation. This is my environment details. So I will fire the dbca commands. So at this stage we can say that we have already installed the RDBMS software, and next our target will be a database creation. So we'll mention this as a database creation using a DBCA. So this will be our last stage, and last stage for our entire 2-node rack configuration on Virtualbox. And remember guys, these are step-by-step process, so you will be enjoying everything. So we have executed DBCA, and it will provide me a graphical interface for database creation, and we can see it is now populated and it is loading. Our database will be a prod, and SID will be prod 1 prod 2. So we'll click on create database. From here we'll click on the next tab. Basically there are two options given on the next page, that is typical configuration, that is the default configuration that is given, and advanced configuration page is also there. It is initializing the default configurations, so we need to wait few seconds. Okay, so this is my typical, and this one is advanced configuration. Click on the advanced, then we'll go to next page, that is database type. So here we have different options. We'll choose the default one. Now the general purpose and transaction processing is the template name, so we selected that one. These are the node details, rack 1, rack 2. Click on the next tab. On this page you have to provide the global database names. Okay, so I just provided the prod, so we'll not create the container database. Click on the next tab. here you can see it is storage already selected as ASM because our ASM configuration is already done, and the data base location is also plus data, and using the OMF option it is creating me a database file structure. Next we have option of selecting FRA or archive log. So for the time being we will not be selecting these options, we'll do it manually later. So next one is we have to choose the memory and other details. So we will be choosing the default memory based upon your server configurations. So next we have to choose the management option, we'll skip those things. Next is we need to provide the user password, sys password. So we'll choose the small password so that we can remember. Click on the next, it will give you warnings, click yes, and final page you have to click on create, and now it is doing the prerequisite checks. Okay, again after choosing every details it will go with prerequisite verifications. Okay, so once your prerequisite done, then it will be giving you verification results. Again the same warnings that we have seen so far. Click on the ignore all, click yes. So with this we have the summary of our database installation, database creation, no details, compatible parameters, and all these parameters will be there, and the location of your data files and all those details. Click on finish. Also you can save your response files. So within a few minutes of time your database will be ready. So almost total 16 steps are there for database configuration assistance. We are on the final page, and that is step number 15. So now it is you can monitor your configuration assistant output by going or you can tell this output file, run the tell commands, and in the background so your database creation will happen, and parallelly you can monitor your alert log also. In within a few minutes you will be getting alert log location also on the screen, so you can refer that log location also. So I hope you are understanding how to perform your RDBMS software installation and then creating your database using the DBCA utility. So our target was to perform the 2-node RAC database installation, and here we can see the logs also. In the background it is performing some cloning operation using the RMN utilities. Okay, and it will take some amount of time, and don't worry about this, and it will depending upon your server configuration and CPUs and all those configuration details, it will be moving. Okay, so we can see these changes are happening. I mean cloning is happening and is progressing. Okay, so after waiting few minutes of time we can see these logs again, and in the background so there are so many things has changed, and our database on node 1 is already created, and we can also verify the alert logs, and still there are certain operations going on the node 1, and parallelly you can monitor both your database configuration assistant log as well as your alert logs, and from there you keep on getting all the hints what is happening in the backgrounds. This is the best way you can learn the things. I mean parallelly you can keep on monitoring. So you can see there are some resize operation is also happening, data file resize. Okay. So these are the operations are happening. So within a few minutes of time, and your database creation will be finished. Okay. So after waiting certain period of time, our database creation progress will be finished, and with that our database creation will be completed. Okay. You should always monitor your logs also. So you can check your alert logs. So we can see our database is open, and also you can run the crctl stat resource -t. From that you can verify of what all operations are completed, and what all resources are up and running, and if there is anything which is pending we can verify. Okay. So we can see still it is doing some last operations, and it should not take much time from here, and within a few minutes of time our database creation will be finished, then we'll be checking further. Okay. It should not take much time, that is what I can say over here. So now we can see our both the database instance installation database creation is completed, and both the instances are up and running, and we can verify all these details on both the nodes. Both my prod 1 prod 2 instances are up and running. From views also we can verify these details. This is my RAC 1 RAC 2 local domains, and these host on the same host, both the instances are up and running. So we can say our Oracle 12c RAC installation on Linux step-by-step process is completed, and we have successfully completed. And before going further, I will be requesting you to subscribe my YouTube channel so that you keep on getting all these updates.